What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer here on Fan Friday. Justin Fan from Underdog Fantasy joining us, along with Mike Gallagher from Established Run. 8 games on the docket, so a modest-sized Friday slate. I don't know if the lines are up on Showtime here, Justin, but what are you thinking? Under an hour, over an hour? How are you feeling? Higher or lower?
We'll go lower. I think we'll get this one done in time. I'm glad to be back on. Took a little week off there. The ice finally melted at my place, so ready to the show with you guys. But yeah, glad to be back on. And 13 days to the trade deadline. I think it's going to be a really busy one. We're getting like daily DeJounte, like tweets already, like sub tweets wanting to leave Atlanta. So I think that's a matter of time. We got a lot of other guys on the block, so it should be a really busy couple of weeks here.
Yep. Mike, how are you feeling as we inch towards trade deadline?
Yeah, doing good. You flag plant Jonathan Kuminga and he goes off. Nice way to end the night last night. And I took Brody hiking today, so he has not moved since he is just beat right now. So yeah, this is fun. It's kind of weird. Like a couple games have like a ton of injuries, and then there's like kind of not a lot. So yeah, I think it's I'd go minus 175 on under.
All right.
I think we're gonna do it.
Well, let's see how we do it. Castoffy noting I'm correctly struggling in the flag plant streets, feeling off my game of late, and went to the Garden last night. Saw the Nuggets get destroyed. Saw Jokic almost lose an eye, and everybody in the stands handled that really maturely, as you can imagine, in the New York stands. So yeah, fun night last night. My fiance was rating people by their punchability metrics. So the guy right in front of us who got up on every Knicks shot and stood up in front of her and every Knicks rebound was a 10 out of 10 on the punchability scale. So fun night at the Garden. Fun.
Are the Knicks ever going to lose, Drew, with OG?
I don't know, man. They're looking real good.
It's smiling at post-game press conferences.
I know.
I'm off my game. I don't know.
It's a potential national crisis, honestly. We need to send in the National Guard, because if the Knicks win a title, I don't know if this country will make it. I really don't. With New York City at the center here, we might have just a totally different country if the Knicks end up winning the title. All right, let's get into the game by game stuff. Let's start with Dallas and Atlanta. On the Dallas side, no Kyrie Irving tonight, no Maxi Kleber or Dwight Powell as well. Justin, what are your expectations on how Dallas adapts tonight?
Yeah, not a surprise. Kyrie's out, wasn't participating in practice, had that soft splint still on that sprained thumb. I think he might miss more time beyond even today. We heard comments from Jason Kidd heading into the last game about Josh Green and Dante Exum. The comments a couple of weeks ago before Exum got hurt was Exum was going to be the starter the rest of the way, even when Kyrie got back. They were going to run Kyrie, Luka, and Exum together. That's not the case anymore. We saw Josh Green start, play 31 minutes as a starter to Exum's 18 and a half. Jason Kidd said that the coaching staff will discuss the situation more in detail at some point. So it appears that Green's going to remain the starter over Exum, at least for a little bit, a couple games at least. Maybe Exum works his minutes back up from injury and reclaims it at some point. So expecting them to run this starting lineup back. THJ, Exum, Hardy off the bench. I have Rashawn Holmes in there filling in for Maxi Kleber. And I'll say one of the biggest takeaways here, obviously that's different from last game, is that the absence of both Maxi Kleber and Dwight Powell is really good for Derek Lively's minutes. And Lively's been 26, 28, 25, 26 his last 4 games. This was a blowout, but in the first half, he played just under 13 minutes. This wasn't a blowout thing either. So his minutes have been kind of capped. He's been losing some minutes to Kleber, and no Kleber today, means he can get back to 30 plus potentially. We saw stretches where he was in that range, getting to 30 plus, getting up to 34, 35 on some nights too. So, he's the biggest beneficiary of the news today. We'll note, obviously, I think everybody's going to be on Luka. We'll say that his last 4 games against the Hawks, he's been held largely in check. FanDuel points to last 4 games against the Hawks, 39, 40, 49, 40. And, different kind of coaching staff here, but we've seen them be aggressively double him in the past when he's like cross half court and make them make the other guys beat them. So curious to see how they handle Luka today. Obviously, he's in a good spot without Kyrie, but has a history of struggling against Atlanta.
Yeah, do you think THJ starts, or do you think they go back to Grant? That's kind of where I think they start THJ. The regular history teacher took off, so they're going to call the substitute teacher to fill in today. So I got it. Luka, Green, THJ, Derek Jones Jr., Lively. Are you with us on that, or do you think Grant's in there over?
I have them running it back. Dinklage is mine right now.
I mean, you could have picked any subject. You didn't have to pick history. You could have picked any subject for Kyrie to be the one missing.
Yeah, that's poor.
I wouldn't have gone with history as the subject.
Well, I guess he got fired. He got fired from his job. The history teacher got fired because he's so bad. So the substitute has to come in. So that was clearly a Freudian slip on my part. So a couple things that I wanted to add. Everything, obviously, I agree. Luka's banged up, man. Like, he was really laboring through this game. This left leg thing just doesn't shake him. And we always want to put 38.5, and we're like, for the first time ever, I was talking to Chris, who we do minutes with in the morning. I was like, I don't want to up Luka today. Like, I'm a little bit concerned that this wear and tear is getting him. Teams are really attacking him on defense. He's taking so much contact. I got concerns, man. I don't know if he can make it through this game. It's how badly he was limping the last game. And then, that's mostly it. I think, let's see Derek Lively get up there. I think this game could play really small, right? Because especially the injuries on the other side. So I'm kind of curious how this goes. So I think Grant could be more of a straight 5. We do have, like, you have some homes, but we're not giving him like the lion's share of the non-Livelies at all. So could be pretty small going game overall.
Actually, I just checked it.
He's been like really valuable.
I have THA in there, and I think the Grant point is good. Like, to keep him off the bench and make him the primary 5 makes a ton of sense.
Yep. Yeah, that's kind of.
Let's go to the Hawks side, where you mentioned the injuries on the other side here. Trae Young questionable, concussion protocol. Wes Matthews questionable, right calf strain. Clint Capella and Bruno Fernando, 2 other bigs on the roster, are questionable. Left calf contusion for Clint, left lower back spasms for Bruno Fernando. They're still without DeAndre Hunter. Justin, what are your expectations here on who the Hawks have available in their first game back after that long 2-game West Coast road trip?
Yeah, so Trae was placed in the protocol on Sunday, was straight ruled out on Wednesday. So the upgrade to questionable here is positive for his chances of playing. Would think he goes. He probably has just another step to clear the protocol, is what I'm getting from this Q tag. And I wouldn't expect any sort of like minutes cap. I think he should be kind of full go if clear to play. Capella is interesting. He's dealt with calf issues in the past, but it was his right calf. This is his left calf contusion this time, so doesn't really have a history here. He's 2 for 4 this season playing when entering with the Q tag. So just about where you'd expect it, 50-50. I think that's about where I have him. Don't have a pretty strong lean either way on Capella's playing size. Fernando's obviously sneaky here because without Capella too, if he isn't able to go, they're real thin at center. And if Capella and Fernando both miss, we likely see Okongwu get up to 36. He's going to play as many minutes as he can handle at center, and then would guess like Jalen Johnson serves as like the backup 5 in that spot. So they really need at least one of these guys to go for their center depth today. I would say the only other thing I'd add is obviously we're in the middle of showcase season with Harrison Barnes, with D'Angelo Russell. DeJounte Murray's been playing well. So that's kind of all I have to add. Obviously, Jalen Johnson's been a star, been exceptional. Don't really have much else to add outside of that for the Hawks.
Yeah, I'm completely with you. Jalen Johnson would slide in there. They don't have Mo Gia either. He's still out. So they have like literally, if those guys are both out, they'd have one center in their entire roster, G League included. So yeah, it could be mega minutes. The matchup is really good. The Mavs are getting killed on the glass over their last 9 games. They're one of the worst teams in the NBA there. 29th in half court, I think 28th in overall defense. They've been really struggling on the defensive end. So kind of like Atlanta. I kind of want to go there. I just don't like how the Mavs are defending with Luka being banged up. I could see it kind of going the Hawks' way, but they're playing terrible themselves. So yeah, a lot of bad defenses here. And then we saw Saddiq Bey. We're seeing Saddiq Bey get hit a little bit. He played a lot better in the Warriors game, but the minutes floor is a little bit lower with teams attacking him. I expect him to get hunted pretty good here with some Luka screening actions.
All right, let's move to Houston and Charlotte. On the Houston side of things, Tari Eason remains out. They've got questionable tags on Jayshawn Tate and Jabari Smith, as well as Reggie Bullock here. Justin, there's been a lot of leans based on shoot-around participation with the Houston guys of late. What are your notes here on the Houston Q tags?
Yeah, Jabari being downgraded to questionable after not being on the injury report initially is very, very concerning for his status today. I have him closer to doubtful just based off that, if I had to guess. It's a pretty clear indicator that, he isn't quite right off that ankle. He's going to miss probably a third straight game tonight. We saw Jayshawn Tate miss last game. So Jeff Green, hello, 38 minutes at age 37, still kicking it, still doing it. Really disappointing minutes for Cam Whitmore, who only played 13.5 on Wednesday without Jabari Smith Jr. and Jayshawn Tate. So I don't think this split is going to be as extreme today. I don't expect Jeff Green to get all the way up to 38 again, but a little concerning for Cam's ceiling here. We've seen for usage rate, the bumps with Jabari off the court. It's been more Jalen Green, more Fred VanVleet. So Jalen needs to get to like 28 to 32% usage for me to be really interested, because he doesn't do anything outside of score. So he's always like a fringy type guy for me. But this should be a great spot for Fred VanVleet and Şengün. Şengün's minutes, obviously they played 2 OT games in the last 4, but regulation minutes last 4, when they've kind of been shorthanded in that front court, 40, 37, 37, 35. So 35 to 40 minutes, 4 straight games in regulation have been really, really good for Şengün. And I like the spot for him tonight against the Hornets.
I am with you, and I have a cover boy is Alfred Şengün. 6.5 post-ups in those 4 games, 9 paint touches, 53 front court touches, the nuttiest of nut matchups. I think there's a little bit more resistance on Fred VanVleet with Cody Martin guarding him, and we just love centers against the Hornets. I think he could go ham, and taking out Jabari's rebounding, it could be like mega, like 30, 20, 10. I could go full Joker status here. So I'm all the way in on Şengün, especially if Jabari doesn't play. But yeah, everything else you kind of laid out there, so I don't have too much to add. Get a little narrative. I'm kind of big on this narrative this week. Coming off a bad loss, play your guys heavier minutes who really matter. So pretty excited for him. And then older golfers, they shoot their age. That's like a big deal. Like Jeff Green minutes his age. So shout out to him.
Yep.
It is front end of a back-to-back for Houston tonight. That's the one potential wrench if the game gets out of hand in terms of the minute ceiling. But man, it's like the script writers, they talk about him on the NFL side of things, but we got an Alperen Şengün cover boy. We got Alperen Şengün on the JJ Redick podcast. We got Alperen Şengün playing against Charlotte. It just seems like the NBA script writers have started filling the content machine and gotten to your boy over here at ETR and made sure that he put him on the cover boy as well. So a lot of Alperen Şengün in the algorithm these days. Let's move to the Charlotte side of things. No Mark Williams, no Gordon Hayward, no Kyle Lowry. Pretty standard situation, what we've seen from Charlotte of late. Gallagher, what are your notes on the Hornets?
Yeah, I'm going to start with LaMelo. So pretty disappointing game. Shot like crap. A missed cover boy opportunity for me. I cover boyed him, and he did not perform up to those standards, and arguably the best matchup for him. After the game, Steve Clifford said he's still kind of working through, and his conditioning isn't up to par. We're seeing the minutes get there, but the performance hasn't quite been great. The matchup's pretty bad. I'm going to see Dylan Brooks against the best transition defense in the NBA. So this is probably one of the worst spots for LaMelo, which could open up a couple things. Miles Bridges' matchup gets substantially better if Jabari doesn't play. So he would be a really interesting play to me if Jabari's out. And then if Jabari's in, Brandon Miller, he is cooking without foul trouble. We've seen a pretty steady diet of minutes. His on-ball handling has really grown. We're seeing his pick-and-roll handler stuff like really spike in the last couple games. Certainly that's a little bit tied to Terry Rozier, but even before Rozier was traded, he was ticking up. So he's really, really growing here. With Scoots also kind of having a big run, but Brandon Miller being a quote-unquote bust, the mascot in shambles is kind of a bad luck. I think Brandon Miller is kind of coming in hot. It's a clear one of the. We always talk about trade beneficiaries. He's like a clear one. I think he's going to have a really big second half. And should also mention Nick Richards returned. They're going to need him a lot. They just don't, like, Mensa can't cover in the post. They're not going to want to play PJ against Şengün. We saw teams really try to play bigger because Şengün's that impactful. Most notably, the Jazz starting Walker Kessler in the second half against Şengün. So could actually see pretty big Nick Richards minutes in the spot.
Any other additional thoughts there, Justin, on the Hornets?
I mean, yeah, Brandon Miller, 4 straight 20-plus point games. Wemmy's the only other rookie to do that. I think he's really answered the call. And, the conversation was Scoot over Brandon Miller easily. And I think he's closed the gap, if not all the way, most of the way. I'm still buying Scoot long term. I think he's a 19-year-old point guard that needs a lot of time to learn the position, and he's shown some progress in that over the last bit. He's had a 7 assist, 0 turnover game, but Brandon Miller has acquitted himself. The catch and shoot stuff, I mean, he's a perfect fit next to LaMelo, and gives them exactly what they need. And I mean, he's going to have a massive role the rest of the way. 39 minutes on Wednesday, I think. We've seen Bridges really get up there too. And, Bridges, the matchup's not the greatest, but the volume is going to be there. And, this showcase season with the Suns being rumored as a landing spot for him. Last 4 games for Miles Bridges, minutes, 39, 40, 40, 41. So, I mean, they're still without Mark Williams, Hayward's, no Lowry, so same group. So no reason to not expect Bridges minutes to be up there once again.
Yeah, and should just note Brandon Miller has had 4 straight 23 plus. He only did that once before this 4-game stretch.
Yep.
Let's move to Phoenix and Indiana. On the Phoenix side of things, Eric Gordon still questionable with the right wrist soreness that's cost him the last few games. Justin, what are your notes on Gordon and the Suns?
Gordon said at shoot around that he's quote unquote progressing. I don't take that as a sign of confidence, really. So I would lean that he's probably going to miss his 3rd straight game tonight with that wrist issue. And we've kind of seen, they're basically running like a 9.5 rotation. Saban Lee filled in that 10th spot the first game. Then he was inactive the second game as Utah Watanabe instead. But the biggest beneficiary here without Eric Gordon is Grayson Allen. I mean, we've seen the last 2 games without Eric Gordon. The minutes have been way up there, 36 the first game. And in this blowout, he played 18.5 in the first half. So 35, 37 minutes is well within, his range, assuming this one stays close. And Gordon ends up missing the 3rd straight game.
Yeah. Emma Stone, ever since Emma Stone came around for Grayson, he's been cooking. So shout out to him. But yeah, I don't have too much to add. Only thing that I'll add is 4 straight games now. The Suns have had a 40-point score, 2 KD, 2 Booker. Obviously, this is a matchup where the primary scorers cook. Pacers don't double. They do take away catch and shoot stuff. So this is a pretty bad matchup for Grayson. So I think this is, and Bradley Beal to a lesser extent. So curious to see how who goes off. I think the matchups are pretty good. Aaron Nesmith certainly guarding Durant, Nembhard certainly guarding Booker. And I think they both can just totally go ham. So, maybe fire off, 2 plus, I don't know what the odds are, but fire both off and one of them's going to get 40 for you. And then other than that, Nurk's been cold. In the Pacers game earlier this week, he fouled out in 19 minutes. And we're seeing him, like you mentioned, Grayson is a beneficiary from Gordon. Nurk is too, because they love this little Eric Gordon small ball lineup. It's, I think, plus like 50 in net rating in 19 minutes. It's been really awesome, one of their go-tos. So if they don't have Gordon, they're a little bit more likely to go to Nurk. But they're playing great, man. Hottest team in the NBA, really. Great win for them against Dallas. It's good times in Phoenix. Seeing a lot of Suns stuff when I go to the grocery store now.
Pacers side of things, they're still without Tyrese Halliburton. They've got questionable tags on Jalen Smith, and then the G Leaguers here. Low back spasms for Jalen Smith, pregame workout incidents. Justin, what are your notes on the Pacers?
Yeah, second leg of a back-to-back here. Wouldn't surprise me if they hold Jalen Smith out. They played a pretty minimal role in the first leg anyway. He was their 9th man in the rotation, 10th man rather. They put Matherin, McConnell, Shepherd, Obi Toppin in before him, and Jalen was kind of in there a little bit with Isaiah Jackson. So he wasn't slated for a big role anyways. I don't think his absence would have a really big impact on this rotation. This is a really deep Pacers team that just added Pascal Siakam in the front court. So a little bit more Isaiah Jackson, maybe a little more Obi. Don't think it's a huge deal if Jalen ends up missing.
Yeah, and then I want to highlight Pascal Siakam, triple-double yesterday, and man, I wish I was on this more because there was commentary from Ricardo after practice. They were installing a lot of like Pascal handling stuff, which I talked about on the shows yesterday. So if anybody was sharp enough to bet that stuff, shout out to you guys. But yeah, I think this is legit, especially with that Halliburton. So I think Siakam's handling role is going to be pretty awesome. Did run pretty pure on the assists, had 13 potentials to get the 10. But he's going to handle, man. Like, Nembhard's just kind of an off-ballish kind of player sometimes. I'm really like this role. I like this matchup for him as well. So I think Siakam, who I was like, gosh, like after the DFS show, I was like, oh man, I should have flag planted Pascal, but it all worked out. Thank you, Kuminga, my guy. But yeah, everything other than that, Miles Turner actually lost minutes in the Sunday game against the Suns because they were going small, which is very odd. So yeah, that's pretty much it. But expecting a pretty similar situation. We'll see if Jalen Smith can make it through warm-ups today.
Let's move to Clippers and Toronto. On the Clippers side, still without Ivica Zubac here. Justin, any notes on the Clips?
Yeah, well, keep an eye on Paul George. He's monitoring this left groin injury that he's been playing through. Not monitoring, managing rather is the correct word. Their coach talked about it after the game. He got subbed out, I think, late in the game for a little bit, just to keep his minutes a little bit in check. So, and keeping an eye on his minutes, I think it's going to be a gradual thing. He said he felt good enough to get through the game, but there's some aggravation risk, some minute managing risk here. So would want to note that, keeping healthy is paramount. So I'm going to continue to monitor how this groin injury progresses and if he has any sort of setbacks in the near future.
Yeah, with you there. I don't have too much to add. Just want to note that Amir Coffey and Norm Powell closed over the centers and Terrence Mann. Coffey's playing really well, and then Norm's kind of norming, which is kind of cutting to Westbrook a little bit. But yeah, Clippers are red hot, hottest offense in the NBA in 2024. Yeah. Playing complete lights in. And as you said, they got to stay healthy. That's really the only thing that's going to keep them from a top 4 seed, in my opinion. They're just cruising on offense. Their defense has slipped a little bit. There's some narrative that international travel affects some teams. Maybe the Raptors can hang around, but certainly expecting this to be a pretty high-scoring game on the Clippers side.
Did you ding PG's minutes at all? I actually took him down like half a minute. I
haven't got that far yet, but yeah, I probably want to take him down a little. We run him pretty full, so yeah, I'd probably take like half to 1 off him.
Yeah, I think I'm at 34.5 right now.
That's probably where I'd be, yeah.
Raptors
side, being known as Tibbs.
Raptors side of things, Emmanuel quickly listed out today with a right quad contusion. Jakob Poeltl still out with that left ankle strain. Justin, it's the battle of underdogs. News sourcing versus Mike Gallagher's intuitions here on projected starters. Justin, I'll give you the honors to start.
We talked about this, Gallagher and I DM'd about it before, right? And Darko came out with a quote that said he will probably run Scotty at the point this game without Quickly and keep Schroeder in that bench role. I am very curious. I want to kind of talk a little about Bruce Brown specifically. His minutes have really largely been in check since he's been traded. He's an obvious trade candidate again to be flipped to another team for trade assets, a first-round pick, a young player is what the word has been. It might be like a first-round pick in like either Hutchelfino or Max Christie was one kind of package being floated. So I had this thought process kind of doing minutes today for the Raptors. How does that kind of affect them? Are they like purposely keeping Bruce Brown's minutes like a little bit in check so he doesn't get hurt? I think the league knows his value. Saw what he did on a title team with the Nuggets. So I don't think they need to like showcase him by any means. I think I put Schroeder for more minutes today than Bruce Brown, even with Bruce Brown expected to start and Schroeder to come off the bench. I think this might be a little bit of a paper starting tag, though. I think Bruce Brown still plays upper 20s, maybe 30 in terms of minutes.
We have 30-30.
Yeah, I have it closer like 31-29 right now with Schroeder coming out ahead. Schroeder's shown like a pretty big minutes floor ceiling in these spots when they've been short. He's gotten up there. I'm a little skeptical with Bruce Brown just given his usage in the first couple of games so far. So that's where I'm landing right now. But want to hear where you guys are at with Bruce Brown and Schroeder, right? At the moment.
Yeah, it was weird. So I listened to the Darko presser, and this wasn't mentioned that he was looking to start Scotty at the point, and I missed the tweet while I was on the DFS show. Stupid work, but I'm like Ron Burgundy. I don't believe you, Gif. That makes no sense. Why wouldn't they start Schroeder, put him on Harden, put Gary Trent on PG, put Scotty on Kawhi? Easy game. So I'm with you. Like, it's so hard for us to he's starting. We shouldn't have the backup have more minutes, but I feel pretty confident if this game is close, Schroeder's closing. So, again, it's just my gut instincts bring Bruce to 24 and run Schroeder at 33 off the bench, which sounds weird and wrong most of how we project. But it's just how I feel. This is just the ideal spot where you're going to play Schroeder because you just need the on-ball defense in such a significant way. And Harden's been awesome. So, I mean, if they're starting Bruce, man, just bet Harden stuff. Honestly, I think he's going to kind of go off. He's been shooting really well, both on and off ball. And it should mention Jonte's kind of nuked as well. And I think this game could also play, a little bit smaller.
Yeah, I'll take any Bruce Brown versus Schroeder minutes straight up. If anybody wants that. I feel pretty good that Schroeder plays more than Bruce Brown tonight. Like you said, Jonte got benched in the second half. Thaddeus Young started the second half in his place, played 26 minutes to Jonte's 6. Thinking it's a 9-man rotation today with possibly Jalen McDaniels getting in there potentially. But if Bruce Brown starts at bench unit, I'm thinking would be Schroeder, Thad, Boucher, and Grady Dick.
So you guys think Porter gets another crack at starting?
Yeah, short leash, but yeah.
Yeah, like a paper starter. It doesn't really matter, honestly. I mean, you're the Thad whisperer. You tell us.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all fun and games until you lose at home to the Grizzlies, and I think the Jonte Porter experiment with Pirtle sounds like it's getting a little bit closer. Maybe early next week or mid next week is a potential return. So I think they got information out of Jonte in this spot, and some guys, especially young bigs, they're just more ready to play against reserves than starters. And so I think you might see Thad start just adult in the room, let Jonte play in the second unit a little bit and see if Jonte plays better. And then maybe you can even out the minutes a little bit, but I wouldn't be surprised after a home loss to the Grizzlies to see a switch there.
Yeah. 2 quick notes to add to that. Darko said they are going to keep Jonte up with the big club when Pirtle comes back, and then Pirtle's still not cleared for contact yet, but he's trending in the right direction.
Yeah. And I fully expect, for what it's worth, when Pirtle is back, Jonte to be the backup big. I think it's just we have to play all these minutes, and Jonte's not ready to play all these minutes consistently, where I think they want to keep getting looks at him. But I think right now they might want to prioritize just staying in it with the first unit a little bit more, but we'll see. Cleveland and Milwaukee side of things. On the Cleveland side, Darius Garland and Evan Mobley remain out. Of course, Tristan Thompson suspended by the league, and without Amani Bates and Ty Jerome here. Cavs finally kind of met their match last game against Milwaukee, as Milwaukee played pretty well in the first game.
Paul George.
Paul George.
There you guys go.
Yeah.
Gallagher.
Sales.
Good luck on that. The books move pretty fast. Gallagher on the Cleveland.
I don't think they're gonna. All right. I bet you I'll get. I bet you I'll get it. I got it. Go ahead. Sorry, I'm betting a couple more.
Always good content for the people at home.
Yeah,
Cleveland
man.
side.
Everyone could. Oh, I'm getting limited. Okay. All right. I'll stop now. Okay. See, there
Cleveland side of things lost this round 1 last week. Our last matchup, we saw big minutes from Jared Allen, which we assumed without Tristan Thompson. Challenging matchup for them to kind of go smaller. What are your expectations on how Cleveland plays this time around? We did not see the big minutes growth that we thought we might see on Dean Wade with the matchup with Giannis Antetokounmpo. He was kind of held in check there as Giannis had a huge game. What are your notes on the Cavs tonight, as the injury report is largely unchanged here?
Yeah. I hope Bruce Brown starts for my Harden Stales. But Zion too. Okay, yeah, well, great content right now. So let's talk about the backup big situation. They went with Damian Jones in the first half, and they cut him out. They went with George Niang in a small ball lineup. After the game, JB Bickerstaff said that he liked that rotation. So we got a pretty big limit on Dame. We got him at 8.5. So we're kind of like hedging. Jarrett Allen's minutes didn't go to the moon despite no foul trouble. That was a little surprising to me. And then Mitchell, a little bit disappointing in an A+ matchup for him. But yeah, that's pretty straightforward. So expecting mostly the same thing, but we're going to see small ball for sure.
Any notes there, Justin, on the Cavs?
No, and quick note on the Bucks. We can move there real quick. I believe Giannis is 12 for 13 now playing through the probable tag. So back spasm, they believe, is a new one for him. So
shoulder before that. Yep.
Yeah, kind of have talked about him a couple times on the show already, but expecting him to go. It's a pretty important game against the Cavs, rivalry week. So I think he 13 for 14 tonight.
Yep, front end of
huge
a
game for
back-to-back
him.
there.
Yeah, I was just gonna say his handling is really spiked. He's like top 5 in potentials. Coming off a triple double, he's been just mooning roll wise. His Dame's been shrinking. No flag plants for Dame today. Anybody out there?
Yeah, some rotation note changes as well with the new coaching staff. We saw Campaign kind of get back into the mix with a 13-minute stint there at in place of Andre Jackson Jr. That would also, be a situation that Campaign's just more capable player in terms of stealing usage, ball handling, different things like that than Andre Jackson Jr. at this point in his career. So interested to see if that continues, if that's kind of like a new coaching wrinkle. Obviously, we're going to continue to see stuff adjust as Doc Rivers gets acclimated there. So any notes on the rotation adjustments there, Justin or Mike?
No, I think you kind of nailed it. Right. Good to see Bobby Portis up there. I don't have too much to add. I think that I don't think we're going to make it under an hour, but we'll try.
Yeah, I mean... you should have been firing bets on the other side of that line.
As gambling Twitter says, the book's called.
Yeah. Oklahoma City and New Orleans. On the Oklahoma City side, fairly straightforward injury report here. Just the G League guys out, so I think we can move quickly through there. New Orleans side, Cody Zeller remains available through the face mask, which remarkably he's been able to do for the last month and a half. I cannot believe this is still being listed as a tag. Any notes there, Justin, generically on the New Orleans Oklahoma City matchup tonight?
I mean, we just got Zion added questionable, so we need to talk about that. Would guess it would be
Trey.
Let me see.
Should be Trey.
Yeah, it should be Trey.
Making bets or what? Am I filling here?
Yeah, do your thing. I'm still trying to get them sorted on my end in terms of
So I was Zion's role really spiked. He led the team in touch time. You see the 11 assists, did run pretty hot on potentials. But I talked about this a lot before the Pelicans game, that they were trying to get him to bring the ball up and have more stuff earlier in the clock. So this is legit. This is a hashtag paradigm shift, as Klaff would say. So I'm expecting Zion to, pick up a pretty big handling role, assuming he can go. Obviously, if he can't, like I said, that would be huge for CJ McCollum, who has lost some handling design, and Brandon Ingram's also lost a little bit of handling. So those guys would kind of be reshifted to more of a primary handler role. Matchups are pretty tricky. You have J-Dub. If Zion's in, J-Dub would guard him. SG would probably get CJ, and Ludort would be on Brandon Ingram. Trey Murphy, the minutes have been pretty good. A little bit shocking that he got garbage time in the last game over Jordan Hawkins. Jordan Hawkins didn't play garbage time. We had an under on Hawkins, and we were nervous we were going to get garbage timed. But that was like quite stunning. So apparently they want to get him to his minutes, I think. I think that's kind of why they went that route. But so they probably won't play him too much. But we've been seeing pretty steady minutes out of Murphy. I think that surgically repaired knee, is starting to feel a little bit better. And then one other note, Jonas Valanciunas didn't start the second half. They went with Larry Nance, and they are going to be, quote-unquote, evaluating the first unit in pertaining to Valanciunas. Green said they will continue to start Joe Val, but Larry Nance, especially in this matchup, could see him cutting into him. We have Joe Val at 24, and I kind of want to bring him down a little bit more because that lineup, Nance with the starters, has been just excellent. One of the best lineups in the league.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, the matchup here, it's also front end of a back-to-back for New Orleans, so that should be noted as well. And tomorrow's matchup is against Milwaukee, a bigger size matchup, so it might make sense to see a little bit more extension of Larry Nance tonight. The Murphy versus Hawkins thing, I think, is maybe something to track, just because midway through the second quarter, Hawkins' minutes were trending higher than Murphy. I don't know if that's a potential swap in terms of hierarchy there. I do think that if Zion were out, Trey would be the starter, just because I think that's more comfortable. Those guys have played more together, but it's just something to monitor. I think it's more of like, if everybody's healthy in the second unit, do we see Hawkins at like 22, 23 and Murphy at like 20 instead of the 25 we've been seeing of late? I think it is something to monitor, because Hawkins has been earning more minutes just generally.
That's kind of where I was held up before. I do think Hawkins has a decent chance to start today. I think it'll be Murphy. I agree with that, but I am probably going to be a little bit more on the conservative end with Trey than I would be before, just with Hawkins kind of creeping over his shoulder. This is a new injury, by the way, for Zion, left foot. I think bone contusion.
Is that the surgical one? Is that the surgically repaired one?
Look
into that. While you're doing, if you want to search that, while I do that, let me add a couple macro notes.
No, it's a different. Yeah, it's a different
one. Okay. So we did a Pelicans podcast, and Pelicans Laundry came after me because I said SGA has Herb's number. I got the stats to back it up. Last 6 games, SGA has averaged 36 points per game against Herb. He is the Herb killer of ball against one of the elite on-ball guys. And Pelicans offense on fire, just dropped a career high 153. They've been 97th percentile or better on offense in 4 of their last 8 games, hottest in the league over that stretch. Small sample, obviously, but yeah, playing great. And then also their shot volume from 3, 46 threes. They just set a career high a few games ago from 3. They are really upping shots, which is another reason why I think Murphy would start. Certainly CJ has been firing away. And I would just point out, if there's a CJ McCollum quote that was out there a couple days ago, I tweeted it out. It's so good, man. Great 5 minutes of someone knowing ball and knowing stats. CJ is just such a sharp dude.
Yeah, I mean, him talking about shot selection and if I can shoot more catch and shoot threes, I'm going to do that. I'm going to hit 44%, and I mean, this is a spot today where he's going to shine, and he's facing a Thunder defense that gives up a lot of threes. So this is a great CJ McCollum spot tonight. I like him. Obviously, Ingram's going to benefit. He can hit that midi over anybody, but CJ is going to. I like him a lot tonight.
Yep.
Last
Number 2,
note,
can catch and shoot threes allowed.
Last note I'll give on the Murphy versus Hawkins stuff is just because it is a front end of a back-to-back. You might see this stuff we're talking about Hawkins versus Murphy. If they intend to rest Murphy on the back end of a back-to-back, you might see stuff that looks very different than what we saw last game. And this is why I'm just kind of flagging it as like, hey, a few games from now, when things are settled, like let's say Zion's playing, let's say Murphy and Hawkins are not on a back-to-back situation, keep an eye on it, because it was a rotation change in the last game in terms of what it was. But I think the context of Murphy's played with these guys a lot more as a starting unit. If Zion's out, it's a front end of a back-to-back. They could just make it so that Zion sits today, Murphy sits tomorrow. They kind of know this is coming. Hawkins still getting the same minutes anyway off the bench. I think that's entirely within the realm of possibility. And then early next week, you get back to tracking this Hawkins versus Murphy stuff.
Dink, one more question on that to close it. Do you think it's more likely that they middle it and kind of manage Trey's minutes on both legs of the back-to-back, or do you think it's more likely that they go Fuller today and sit him tomorrow?
So I think it's more likely that they go Fuller and then sit him personally than middle it. They have enough bodies. They're struggling to find minutes for like Jose Alvarado and Najee Marshall at times, and so like they have enough bodies. It's easier if you just like take a body off and be able to have a fully rested guy playing on the second end of a back-to-back. Also, just stylistically, the matchup against the Bucks, like you don't need 2 of those guys as much. You probably like 2 thinner guys who are going to bomb threes. You need some bigger, stout guys in there. So I think it's going to be more like Najee Marshall, Zion, maybe tomorrow. In the Bucks matchup.
Last one on Trey. He's been back for 2 back-to-backs so far, I believe, and he sat a leg of both those back-to-backs.
Yeah,
That's when they set everyone in that Dallas game. They miraculously won. One thing I do want to add, big Trey Murphy talk here today. I'm curious how he gets lined. We've seen his minutes not really spike. We saw that 28-minute game against Denver. Did the Bucks line him full? We had a Murphy under like early on with the minutes limit returning, and we were like, oh my God, how is he lined this high? So it's a great matchup. We just talked about catch and shoot. So I'm just curious to see how the Bucks line him. If they do line him too high, or if they line him right, I think I kind of like him from an over perspective because of the matchup.
Yeah, we'll see. It's a difficult situation to assess because the split was there with Hawkins playing more than him last game, and it's hard to assess what that means. In the day the Bucks lined him off was a football Sunday. That happens from time to time. Orlando and Memphis. On the Orlando side of things, fairly straightforward injury report here without Gary Harris. Any notes on the Magic, Justin?
Not really. They'll get Markelle Fultz and Jonathan Isaac back. They've had some time off. I believe that game was like 4 days ago on Monday. So it should be back to normal for those guys. Boncaro, really good spot. Wendell, we've seen his back in the starting lineup. Minutes are full now. So just some notes there on those guys.
Yeah, Markel's minutes are pretty good. Wendell playing a ton, playing really well. But yeah, don't have too much to add. Their defense has slipped a little bit, and mentioned this on Monday. Powell's role starting to squeeze a little bit. Usage has been there, but the handling's kind of been cut down with Markelle. Even a little bit of Wendell offense going through him has affected his playmaking, but still expect him to score. Matchups kind of Grizzlies defense has been pretty solid, especially in the last two games.
Yep. And we slid through OKC quickly because there's nothing on the injury report to talk about from their perspective. I see someone in chat asking. Memphis side of things, big injury report as always. Santi Aldama is questionable here. They're without Marcus Smart, Derrick Rose, John Morant, Jake LaRavia, Brandon Clark, Desmond Baines, Steven Adams. So without Aldama, last game we saw them choose to start Jaren Jackson at the center spot, have Xavier Tillman kind of be off the bench as their bench big. I was kind of railing on this, and we took an under on Tillman as a result. But Tillman is not showing up on the injury report of late, but they had been posting him with knee soreness earlier, and he's had it seems like chronic knee issues. So I just think that they're not comfortable extending him at all. Now, if they have Aldama back, it's really not an issue at all. But just want to note that I think that's a big reason of why they played the way that they did last game is I just don't think Xavier Tillman can play 30 or that they trust Xavier Tillman can play 30 right now. So I think his range is more consistently going to be in this 16 to 23 type range when he is playing in a big part of the rotation. Justin, I'll start with you on the Aldama questionable. He's also listed with right knee soreness.
Yeah, I don't have a big lean on him. We don't really get a ton of context and injury information on the Grizzlies as a whole. It's the PR account, and then Michael Wallace will kind of chime in, here and there. Maybe some Harrington stuff like once in a while, but I think it's like true 50-50. I think you nailed it on Xavier Tillman. Just want to be conservative with his minutes, even if Aldama misses another game. I think they'd probably run this lineup back with Jaren at center. We'll note that no Luke Kennard on the injury report, so he's back. Tough matchup for him and the 3-point shooters against Orlando. This is the Vince Williams show, though.
Baby.
He's been the hub. He's been so good 2 ways too. Defensively, been really good. Minutes are up there. Can go up to 34, 35. What it had 25 career high 25 last game. I can see him replicating that in this matchup too. I love Vince Williams today again.
Yeah, he's been freaking awesome. Picked up additional handling, was running some offense. The shooting's been insane. He's been in their primary wing defender. He's been so good. I was thinking about this. He's been so good. Did they just trade Marcus Smart? Get dudes out of the way. Give Vince all the minutes he can handle going forward and next year, man. He's that valuable. And then the other new thing, Scottie Pippen Jr. on the scene certainly was a little bit, kind of last man in. We know Jenkins likes to run 10. Are they, we saw them kind of run 9 for a little bit when they lost guys. Do they keep him in there? He kind of earned it. He was great, man. This is really his first shot at rotation minutes. Led the team in touch time with 4.7 minutes in 24 minutes. That's a huge allotment of touch time, especially for a young player like that. And then Gigi Jackson, great. I mean, he's so talented, man. He reclassified as and when he was in high school to be a highly touted guy. And I was listening to a Memphis pod, and they were saying he was telling people in his interview process that he was not coachable, which I mean, the honesty in that is incredible. And then one other note, he goes by Gigi because I think his sister can't pronounce the Gregory. That's kind of why he goes by Gigi. So this is similar to Anthony Simons, who goes by Ant because his grandma couldn't pronounce Anthony. So always love those little cool stories. That's what you guys tune in for, is little weird stuff like that.
Yeah, youngest player in the league, Gigi.
Yeah.
And you kind of see why the Grizzlies were in such a rush to convert Vince, his two-way deal, to a standard contract, a way to buy low, and that deal is going to be amazing for them, just given what he's shown so far. RLP Bismack Biyombo, but your sacrifice was your roster spot was well worth it.
And then Mike, you had mentioned about Scottie Pippen Jr. If they have both Kennard and Aldama back, that he would be like 11 from where they were. So do you think this is only a situation that if Aldama's out, do you think there's a chance he could hop Gilliard? Like, what are your thoughts on how close Scottie Pippen Jr. is to the
I think he would hop Zaire. I think he would hop Zaire. He maybe hops Gilliard. I don't think they're ready.
Well, just because they had been starting Kennard,
so
like at point. Right. So Gilliard would then be a backup ball handler. That's kind of tough to have three of those.
Yeah. Sky's got a little bit of size though, so I think he could kind of play like a 2-point guardish lineup. But I don't know. Probably it's probably like getting ahead of myself. Like I don't think we're there yet, but definitely something on the horizon coming.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, of course Portland, he's on my 30-man team.
Portland and San Antonio. Portland side, Malcolm Brogdon, questionable right knee contusion, Shaedon Sharpe, and Moses Brown, and of course Robert Williams, all out here for the matchup with San Antonio. So, Justin, what are your expectations for Brogdon in this Q tag tonight?
Brogdon's played pretty big minutes as of late. I mean, 37, 33, 35, played 41 and a half in the overtime game. I would not be surprised if they hold him out here. He is a prime trade candidate. They're talking about they want at least a first-round pick for him. Why risk it? He's been playing a lot lately, so I think it makes a ton of sense to play it on the side of caution here, and would assume Scoot re-enters the starting lineup in that case. He's been playing.
I actually disagree there.
You think it's
I think like Scoot at the bench? Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
They kind of like Scoot off the bench to kind of just break up the handling there.
You think it's more like
I don't feel that strongly about it though.
You think it's like a paper starter tag though? Obviously, with
sort of, yeah. Scoot will still probably close and play a ton. Yeah, we'd have like starter-ish projections on him for sure.
Okay,
because he's been great. Like I think this roll off the bench is. You mentioned earlier when we were talking about Miller. Like I think he's comfortable. I don't think you want to take him out of his element, let him kind of carry the second unit, and eventually elevate him. But I don't know. I think it's kind of smooth. That's based on Phillips' comments. And just if I could hop in here, Brogdon was called quote Mr. Reliable. Maybe not reliable now, especially someone who has injuries. But that's pretty much it on the notes for me. Ayton, we should mention DeAndre Ayton. Shout out to us. We bet an over on him. It was disgusting, and he plays one of his best games of the season there. And then I almost covered Boyd. I really like this matchup for him. Jabari Walker continues to crush. Career high assists for Jeremy Grant. Picked up some handling. Really nice win for them against Houston. But yeah, I feel pretty good about this rotation overall. But yeah, definitely. I don't feel as strongly about Scoot, but that's kind of my lean right now.
Yeah, so I say that because I would imagine that if they deal Brogdon in the next week or two, you're thinking they bring Scoot off the bench the rest of the season. I don't really agree with that.
No. I just think he'll have to grow into it more.
Okay, because I think eventually he's going to have to start because Brogdon's going to get traded. Yeah. So why not give him reps? That's his long-term position, like long-term role on the team anyways, like for the rest of the year. That's kind of where I'm coming from.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure. I don't feel strongly like I wouldn't be making a bet on this situation. Like honestly, I feel more confident Schroeder starts than
Agreed.
But we don't believe Darko today.
All right, let's move to the San Antonio side of things. Trey Jones questionable here. Dominic Barlow's got that two-way questionable tag. Otherwise, pretty stable injury report. We've seen Victor Wembanyama's minutes continue to rise on the minutes limit, getting into the upper 20s now. Justin, what are your thoughts on Trey Jones Q tag here?
So we went through shoot around this morning, but Jeff McDonald was still saying he sounds iffy to play. So usually a shoot around participation maybe takes them like 65-70% to play, but I'd probably put it like 55-60% to play. A little bit on the more likely side, but not a strong lean. But yeah, we've seen Blake Wesley step in for him. When in the game he's been absent. I am really curious to see what Wemby's minutes look like here, because it sounds like he's going to be cleared to play in both legs of this back-to-back coming up. Mm-hmm. And we've seen his minutes limit get up to 30, and he played 28 last game in a blowout. So where are we kind of thinking with, I kind of like settled in like the 27 to 28 and a half range initially. I think they'll kind of manage him a little bit on both legs, because this is his first back-to-back. So how cautious do you think they are with the limitations?
Yeah, we when we talk minutes, we have Tibbs emojis from when people want to raise minutes too high, and we have a Will Hardy emoji from people. You'd be getting a Will Hardy emoji right now. I think he's going to go full, and I love this matchup, man. This matchup is so good. We mentioned this in the last show that like how is Trey Jones going to affect Wemby, and we had some comments saying we said that we poo-pooed. We're like, no, they're going to find ways to get Wemby. Can he still be productive? And that way was productive. Was post-ups. He's been really hot there. Last three is 8.3 post-ups per game. That's a really big number in this day in the NBA. Just the usage rate is outrageous. Again, I love this matchup. One of the worst rim defenses in the NBA. I was this close to cover boying Victor Wembanyama, but Şengün just was too cover boyable. But yeah, and then should mention Blake Wesley played pretty well. Pop was pretty encouraged with him. Did get some garbage time as well to boost his stats up, so he would certainly get the start again if Trey can't play.
Yeah, and then Keldon Johnson, only 19 minutes last game, was not pacing for. I mean, this was what he was pacing for, so it wasn't like blowout related in a big way.
He went to the locker room, I think, for a stretch there. I think he went knee to knee, I believe. So that might have had something to do with it. We were kind of monitoring. We're not tweeting locker room stuff for bench guys anymore on the Underdog NBA account, but he definitely went, and we were keeping an eye on that. So that might have played a role in his limited minutes.
Okay. Any other thoughts there, Mike, on Keldon of late? Because it's been a little we thought there was this big bench roll coming with huge usage and stuff like that, and his performance has been really inconsistent for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I think that mostly covers it. Continues to be Champagne starting lineup. Actually, one thing I forgot to mention was we're talking Santi Aldama, but knee to knee. That's why this isn't like knee ligament thing. It's just like a contusion. So I think he's just to cover. He's like day to day. I just want to note that.
All right, that'll do it for this edition of a South Fronts NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. As long as I can close this within the last 7 minutes here, which God help us all if I can't. Thank you all for tuning in. As always, the best way to support the show is support the people who are supporting us. So check out all the great things going on Underdog Fantasy. The 3-point shootout from Peter Jennings.
Oh man,
little underwhelming there. A lot of lowers were hitting in that 3-point shootout. Pete did match Gilbert Arenas, so that was a small victory for Pete that I'm sure, as the story develops over the years, will be the only part that is told about that performance. But you can check out all the great stuff at Underdog Fantasy. Daily snake draft contests for pretty much every sport going these days. Season-long best ball contest for PGA going as well. So lots of great stuff on the Underdog streets. Justin, anything else you want to let the people know going on over at Underdog?
No, it was that 3-point shootout. It was a great time. Pete killed a lot of my pick'em slips. Pick threes, pick fours, just one leg short, my boy Pete. But I'll bet on him any day. Shout out Anthony Miracola for taking that down. He's got this awesome shot put form, but that dude is freaking money. So great story on him. Really happy to see him take down the 100K. But yeah, just we're doing our thing. NBA, NFL news, MLB starting up, so we're looking at that. So yeah, it's year round with this stuff.
Love to see it. The best way to support us is to subscribe to this YouTube channel. You can hit the bell and get notifications whenever we post new content. We've been posting these injury shows Monday through Friday, each and every day of the NBA season, as well as some of our podcast episodes as well. Mike Gallagher and I talked about the Timberwolves and what the 62-point explosion from Karl Anthony Towns in a loss means for their future on the podcast feed. So you can check that out as one of the other videos on this channel as well. Appreciate you supporting this channel through subscription. We're trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the NBA season, and appreciate your efforts in helping us do so. As always, if you're interested in joining our content behind the paywall, you can check out establishedrun.com/subscribe-MBA for more details on our props and DFS packages. You can find myself and Gary Hartman at 5 o'clock Eastern breaking down the DFS slate, the good plays, the good chalk, the bad chalk, the contrarian plays, and of course the flag plants, which hopefully will be some good plays for me. They've been struggling of late. I look to rectify that tonight at 5 o'clock Eastern. And as always, another way to support this great free content that we're providing you is by smashing that like button. You feed the algorithm by smashing that like button. It feeds our families, allows us to feed you the NBA injury information analysis you need each and every day to set your DFS lineups, your season-long lineups, and make your spread bets and your prop bets. So smash that like button, help feed that algorithm. It helps feed our families. Nom, 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 nom. Have a great weekend, everybody.